Hello, hello, and welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical advice for nonsensical times. My name is Bee, my pronouns are she, they, and I'm the resident numerologist.
My name is Jeanna, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the resident astrologer.
And my name is Meg, my pronouns are she, they, and I'm the resident tarot reader.
And today we are having a conversation that Meg and I have been scheming up for a minute. We've been thinking about the life cycle of a reading, so to speak, of thinking about readings we've had and maybe even readings we've given. I don't know.
Yeah.
And just, how long are they quote unquote good for? What can we gain from them over a longer period of time? Much, much more. I have no idea.
Yeah. No, I think we'll see what comes up. But yeah, it was coming up for me because you were talking about the magic square Bee in a forecast, in a conversation at some point in the ether. What is time? What are we doing here? I don't know. But at some point you were talking about the magic square recently. And I was reflecting on the couples reading that you gave to me and Jeanna when we had first started dating, when we didn't really even know each other yet. Yeah. I think I had booked a little mini reading from you. You were doing like a moving sale and you were doing like really cheap, quick readings. So I got one and I liked it so much, but then I was on your list. But yeah, when I saw that you were offering couples readings for numerology with the magic square, I thought that would be a really fun thing for Jeanna and I to do. It's the only couples reading we've ever had. But when you mentioned the magic square, I was like, oh, I should go see if I bet that reading's still in my inbox. I should go pull our squares up and like see what the fuck is going on. And I haven't re-listened to the reading, but I looked at the notes and everything and I was like, I'm so glad that I still have this, because the reading, and you could speak to this better than I could, but the reading was so much about our personalities and how we're social and how we process information. And those things aren't necessarily like a yearly thing. That's like a kind of a general personality thing, as well as like ways that we are compatible, or ways that we might experience friction, or ways that we might be thinking similarly or thinking differently. So it just got me thinking about how relevant that reading still feels, which is different than like my year ahead readings that I might get or receive. So
yeah, that's such a good point too. I think the type of reading definitely changes the lifespan of it.
Yeah.
Because if you're getting like a birth chart reading, or like this couples reading with the magic square was done using birthdays, so that information's never going to change. So you're right. That is more like evergreen information. And I do think that changes the efficacy of like how long it's going to last. But before we get into it, does anybody have any announcements that they want?
Oh, sorry. I just dived right in.
I did too.
I don't think I have any announcements properly, but just to flag for anyone here listening who is also subscribed to my newsletter, please open the newsletter this month, because I will be migrating once I get this novel draft done. Jesus Christ. I will return my attention to migrating from Substack to Beehive. I have been on Substack for 7 fucking years. I have a lot to say about leaving. I'm going to be writing an essay about that. But if you're subscribed to my newsletter, everything you have to do or not do is going to be coming to you very soon.
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't really have a big announcement. My signature membership, formerly known as the 3 AM Tarot Conservatory, now freshly rebranded and rebuilt as the Hermitage, is going strong. We are thriving. I brought in some new lovely things, including monthly missives. So you'll get a little audio recording of me in your inbox, as well as recommendations and new tarot spreads and things to chew on all month long. We're also going to be hosting monthly co-working sessions. So if you're someone that could use some accountability or body doubling around doing classes that are self-paced, that's going to be available for you every month. And I'm also just adding in some new things all the time. So you can learn more about that at 3amtarot.com, and we'd love to have you. You can join anytime. You can stay as long as you want. So it's very chill.
What about you, Bee?
Well, I have a combination of Jeanna and Meg's announcements.
Yeah, you really do.
I moved to Beehive and rebranded.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so everything is new for me this month. I'm very excited to announce that I'm moving more towards Bee Scolnick. And so my website is now at beescolnick.com. My newsletter is now called Common Denominators. It's on Beehive.
So good.
Thank you. I'm super excited about it. It's 4 pillars. numerology, psychology, community, and one other thing that I can't remember now. Really deep-rooted pillars you can see. Creativity. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? See, that tells you which relationship I need to nurture a little more at this moment in time. Yeah, everything's new. I also have a new email address. So I'm Bee Scolnick at pm.me. That will all be in the show notes. But please, yeah, I'm asking everyone to update their address books to find me at all my locations. And now I'm just working on shutting the old locations down or like rerouting them, which is a whole other part of the process. So the new things are launched, and yet I'm still in the middle of this change.
It's such a huge project. Like the transition, like rebranding, moving your newsletter to a new platform. It's so much work behind the scenes. Like,
yeah. I will say this one's gone pretty smoothly for me. So I also changed my tier system on common denominators. So if you have been subscribed for a while at a paid level, it is possible that you're getting a bigger, more perks than what you're paying for. That's totally fine. But if you do want to upgrade, there are options there. You can give me a raise. Thank you. And yeah, I'm excited about it though. I'm really happy to have a lot of it done. Living life.
Congrats to both of you. It's a huge project.
Yeah.
Thank you. And to you. Cool. Okay, join our spaces.
Come hang out with us.
Yes. Okay, Meg, where do you want to start?
Oh my God, I don't know. I was thinking about readings, and now I'm thinking about rebranding. I think it's useful to talk about the different kinds of readings that we can get, like evergreen versus ones that are really timely. Because like Jeanna, I know you do a lot of like electional type thing. I don't give a ton of readings anymore. I'm usually giving readings that are pretty of the moment. I think tarot is particularly well suited for like what's happening right now, and like and helping support choices that you're going to make, or helping to kind of understand something that's happened. There are lots of ways to use tarot, but the way I use it is primarily like, what do you need to hear right now, or like what's going to help you with this kind of immediate thing in your future. And B, I'm not sure what kinds of readings you're all given right now if you're doing many readings, but I feel like numerology can be a little bit of anything.
Yeah, I agree that numerology can be both more evergreen in terms of a chart reading, a personal chart reading, a couple's chart reading, other tools that you can use that will use information like your birthday that doesn't change. And then also it can be more topical in terms of year ahead, month ahead, day ahead, if you wanted to. And then also using it as a map maker, like finding out, orienting yourself in time and space. So that's topical and also kind of looks at a larger picture, but is still a bit more focused than about your personality, like a weather report, like Jeanna says, sometimes than personal information.
Yeah. I mean, I have a very particular point of view about astrology that is not shared by many astrologers, because I think it is primarily best used for time sensitive and time capped, and like electional is just using finding the ideal astrology to do something. It's the study of time. It's the quality of time. It's the magic of time. And it's part of what, and that reason, like I primarily use astrology for planning, for my year aheads, for electional reasons, like I said. I used to get birth chart readings that were more general. And I still will rarely get one if it is topically focused in a way that is compelling. Like our dear friend who has guested on the podcast or on Call Your Coven, Meg Kane, has a 5th house reading that is very brilliant. And then I got a lot out of that reading. Diana Rose Harper used to do this like work your angles reading that was basically connecting branding to your midheaven. For years, I did a 3rd house reading talking to writers about their writing routines. But I think that partly, at least I'll just speak to like what it was like giving them. I think I burned out on birth chart readings and like the 3rd house ones really quickly, because how a reading goes is going to depend a lot on where the practitioner is, but it's also going to depend a lot on the mindset and the well-being and the attitude that the person getting the reading is bringing to it. And sometimes people expect you to fix all their problems or just cold read them perfectly. I'm like, bitch, I'm not a psychic. Like, I'm not, like, the more context you give me, the more specific I can get, actually. Like, just sitting there not talking, expecting me to just like serve up something that's perfect for you on a platter. There are a lot of reasons that I no longer give readings. I am closed for them permanently. That is one of them, is that my own, and that's part, and honestly, like, giving readings has so informed how I sit in the chair now. When I book a reading with someone, I am explicitly, I'll give them as much information as I can about what's going on. I know that they're also a person. I respect their time. I don't expect them to have all the answers, even if the person I'm seeing, like our friend Sasha Ravitch, is literally a seer. Like, I know that readings are collaborative and I treat them that way. I'm also really effusive in thanking people, like, or telling them what was applicable or what was really accurate. I don't know. This has turned into a rant on what I don't like about giving readings, which is not the purpose of this. Because I love being read. I love sitting for a reading, but it's a particular kind of power dynamic. And I do think that one of the things that shapes that power dynamic is the extent to which we are expected to tell people a perfect and infallible and unchanging truth about themselves versus, as you're saying, like, this tarot reading is good for 3 months. This is your year ahead, like, numerology. This is your electional, like, this is when you should get married based on the astrology that's going to be best for the time and best for you and your partner. The hackles get raised at different levels. I'll stop talking now.
No, I think that it's worth talking about, like, what about readings is appealing and what isn't, or like what's pleasurable to give or be able to sit with someone in versus like what's a little bit more challenging to deliver. Because I think like, tell me all about myself in 90 minutes or less is tough. And if it doesn't feel like the reader gets you, or you're not giving them the kind of information that you're looking to receive, or you're not in a modality that particularly supports that, it might not be a reading that feels great. And I do think that, at least for me, like, feeling like I'm with a reader who I've brought a coherent question to, and they've been able to meet me in that question and give me something worthy of exploration or worthy of curiosity around or worthy of sitting with. Those are the readings I'm much more likely to go back and re-listen to, which is part of what we were thinking about initially when we were talking about this topic, was like, how often do you go back and listen to your old readings? And my answer is, it depends on the reading.
It depends on the reading. And it also, I get a lot of readings that are specific to magic or a particular book project or a particular spirit relationship. So the extent to which I revisit them, I absolutely do revisit, but it is going to depend on which one of those is top of mind in the life, as it were.
Well, I think, Jeanna, you just brought up some things so key to this conversation, which is, what are you getting a reading about? Like, what is your query, right? So just to break it down to basics, like, there are many types of quote unquote readings, but they all seem to center on a query or a topic or a theme or something that you want to explore or have a question about or seeking guidance around. And so that is going to change the circumstance and context. And that's really going to solidify some of these answers that we're trying, or that we're looking for, which is like, how long does this reading last? And so, I think the topic and how much you engage with the material. I have a super hot take. I rarely ever listen to readings back.
Nice. That's cool.
Like, I'm happy to have them, and I always want them as a client. And I really rarely, I would rather listen to a month ahead forecast by a reader I like than revisit. But that being said, I am a big note taker, and I revisit my notes about a reading quite often.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
So sometimes I find that I really want to be in the moment when I'm receiving a reading. And obviously, if I'm giving a reading, I have no choice but to be in the moment. So like sometimes when I'm receiving, I really want to just take it all in and listen and be there with the information. But I always have a notebook and pen. And so I find that the readings that I take more, that I'm like called in the moment to jot down more things, however that's going, are the ones that last the longest for me, that I seem to be revisiting, and that the information that I'm chewing on like keeps coming into my life in a conscious way, in a way where I'm like, oh, that's that reading. Like, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really makes me think too, like just the way that it continues to pop. It's so interesting that you take notes and that you prefer to revisit the notes. I don't know. I find this is what I'm so glad we're talking about this. Just like,
I'm also going to turn the light on, but keep talking.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can see evening falling.
Literally, like evening bell.
We started at like 3:30. I thought I'd be fine, but apparently not.
Anyway. It's a rainy, thunderstormy day here today. Yeah, I will say I've revisited my readings with Sasha a fair bit, because those tend to be more around witchcraft practice, ancestral stuff, lineage things, spirit things that occasionally I just want to check in and see. But it's interesting because when I first, similar to you, Bee, how like when we first had a reading with you, like we were not good friends. When I first had a reading with Sasha, we were not good friends. And now that bitch is in my house a few times a month. And it's funny because I have occasionally, since like becoming like good in person, like I'll be like, oh, like you said in that one reading. And she's like, Jeanna, I don't remember anything I said. And that is helpful for me to know, because I also remember nothing I have ever said to anyone in a reading. Like once I give the reading, it's out of my brain. I have hundreds of, I mean, again, perma closed, but had hundreds of clients. I do not remember everything I said to everyone. Like, I have no fucking clue. But like, I treasure people's words so much, especially when they've like given me good advice. And it's also remembering that like, even in revisiting it, I still have power, and I can still choose, and I still have agency. And just because someone saw it or something does not make it so for all time. And I think about that a lot with tarot readings. It's like you're capturing the moment. Like we make any number of choices throughout a day, week, month, year that may shift the things that were potential opportunities or results of that moment that were then there, but like have changed over time. I don't know. So I just think that like it's very easy to become attached to like the outcomes of readings. If the person 100%. Giving it is outcome, like you are not going to get read by Meg Jones Wall if you want an outcome driven reading. Meg will reject and refuse.
Also, you'll just be disappointed. Even if I tried to do it, we'd both be sad. Like it's not nobody's gonna have a good time in that reading. Like that's not what I do. It's not what you want to come to me for. Like that's just
Which I think that's something that we've already mentioned, but like is very key with all of this. It's like finding the right person for the right topic,
I think that if you were someone that is getting a reading that is super predictive, not just like an electional, I think this would be a good day for you to do this thing, like get married or, publish your self-published thing or launch a new business course or whatever you're doing. I think that could be an interesting thing to revisit. Like if it was truly predictive, to be like, what did this person say to me? How much of what they said, like, did that feel true? Did that come true? Were they completely inaccurate? Like, and how does that work? Right. Again, I don't receive readings like that because I don't give readings like that. It just doesn't fit in with my particular worldview. I don't typically revisit my year ahead readings, but I also do take notes after, like I listen to them throughout the year and I refer to my notes throughout the year, but I rarely go back and be like, oh, is what they thought might happen this month, or what kind of energy they thought I'd be navigating that month, is that something that I actually experienced? And usually the answer is yes. But it to me, it feels less predictive, and it's more like for example, I had the Tower in April, and I interpreted that as like, oh, this is going to be my book, like crashing into me. And so I scheduled a few things. I had a big reading with Sasha Ravitch to like work through my book. I like signed up for a workshop that ended up not being what I thought it was going to be, because the person kind of changed what it was like in the days before, and after I'd already paid for it, I was like, okay, never mind. And I just like spent a lot of time thinking about it and like doing rituals around it. And it ended up being that the Tower was not, oh, the book is breaking through out of me. It ended up being like, the tower is kind of me crashing into my own ideas about what writing this book is going to look like. And this month is the 5 of Pentacles month, but I sure am writing up a storm. So it's not looking the way that I thought it would look. But the energy is still there. It's just not appearing in the way that I thought it would. Now I'm getting a little confused in my brain here.
No,
but
that makes total sense. And I think that's also like the beauty of tarot.
Yeah.
Like, especially it's the way that it can tell a story with images and themes. Like, whereas like I feel like astrology and numerology are a little more specific, and this means that, and the number 5 is this, and Mars is this. Like, but with tarot, I think there's just so much more flexibility and expansiveness, I think, in a lot of ways, which is like, also, again, if you're looking for, I love a tarot year ahead. I love astrology for planning, but I love a tarot year ahead. Like I don't think I got one this last year just because I got busy, but for about 5 or 6 years running now, I have had an annual year ahead with Teresa Reed. I get it in the summer, and it has been really interesting to have so many years of year aheads with the same person. Teresa's also not open to the public for readings anymore. So that's also something to like, you can't book with her, but like she's been reading me once a year for many years now. And it's been fascinating. I don't go back like to the really old ones and listen, but like occasionally when there's a theme of like, oh yeah, Meg and I were getting together in those years. It's like, what was the year? It's fun to like revisit the topical sections of those readings to be like, also because Teresa is like scary fucking. I'm one of those people who likes predictive readings, and Teresa is someone who gives predictive readings really explicitly. So it's also like very fun to go back and listen.
Yeah, I love a year ahead with tarot, and I got my annual reading this year with Letitia Barbier, and it was awesome. And I'm just gonna get my year ahead readings with her forever now because I love her.
Yeah, you talked about that one with Letitia.
And I've listened to it I listened to it once it happened, and then I listened to it the next day, and then I listened to it a third time and took notes. So, and I keep those notes in my doc, like in a place that I can access it, and I check in with it at the top of each month. So.
Meg and I will re-listen to our readings with the other person, like so it's especially if like if I come out of a reading with Meg and Letitia, or me and Sasha, or me and Teresa, or whoever, and it's like, oh my god, babe, you have to listen. Like, and then the other person listens, and then we kind of like are talking about it and like, oh, how they got there, and offering the reflection and commentary. As the spouse. So that's something we do, and I wonder if that's something you and Stacey have ever done or what have you.
We've definitely talked about readings. I mean, Stacey does not receive readings from anyone but me. Like in the few times that I've read for her that we've been together, but it's not with any kind of regularity. But
also, what an honor and a privilege. Her wife is Bee Scolnick. She gets private readings on demand from Bee Scolnick. Like,
we've had some good readings. We have had some really good readings. And so she definitely sees the value of them. And there have been a few points in our life together where she's asked for them, and then we've made space for it. I don't think we've ever received a reading together with like a couple's reading. But a lot of stuff has come through like readings that I have gotten that have like picked up on her energy. But in terms of like readings I've gotten, we'll talk about them. I've never thought about listening to one with her. That sounds like so intimate. That sounds like
it took us a while. We didn't start doing it right away, but I think I want to say it was one of Sasha's readings. I feel like that was what started it.
It was my first haunted house.
That's reading. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to say that, but I'm really positive that was the first time we did it because you were just so moved and like. And you were like, you have to listen to this.
There was a lot of like really highly specific ancestral stuff that came through that like is just so, I don't know. It was just so specific and so identifiable to me. I was like, this is uncanny, Meg. You gotta listen to this.
And I was so moved by Jeanna's reading that then I booked one with Sasha and had to read it. And I've listened to that reading like 4 times since. So like, because mine was also like really moving and
but that's something that's real. What you said, Bee, like sometimes like if you're someone who has a partner or a child or like someone you live with, you're really intimate with, they can get boomeranged into it. Like this actually just happened with me and Meg last week. Someone impromptu did something for me. I'm not going to get into it, but Meg got boomeranged into it basically. And suddenly Meg's spirits, it was like nuts, but that happens. And I don't know. So I think there's also a way too, in which like a life cycle of a reading, like it might, especially if someone you love, someone you live with is kind of incidentally getting brought in, like that can also impact like different, like maybe it's relevant for them for a different amount of time than it is for you, or you know. Something.
Yeah, we definitely have talked about things, and it's interesting actually to have to sometimes relay the reading in layman's terms to her, like in plain English, and it forces me to get clear about, again, because if it's it's just my understanding of the reading, because at some point, and this is why I think listening to recordings back is a positive and supportive experience, because then you do get to know what was said exactly, you know, like verbatim. Whereas sometimes with my note taking, I'm like, was this my phrasing to myself, or was this the actual language that the reader used? But sometimes, like, especially in, I'm thinking tarot, that where it's more symbolic or archetypal, or we're speaking in metaphor, it's like I understand that because we all speak the same language. But sometimes in relaying that to Stacy, I have to get much clearer about what that actually means to me. And so that can actually be helpful.
I was gonna say, that sounds like it could be clarifying in some
in like unpacking. And also, like how much of this is useful to share. Or even just like, hey, this is what I learned about myself today, or hey, this is what I'm thinking about. I think there's like a lot of intimacy in that. And it doesn't have to be a spouse. It could be like sharing with an online community, or sharing with friends. You know, I think whenever a reading becomes more than just the two of you, meaning practitioner and receiver, I think if you're like talking about it with people, if you're telling people about it, if you're kind of working it out, like it becomes more a part of your life. And then that can also elongate the lifespan, because not every reading that I've had is meant to come into my day-to-day. You know, sometimes I've received readings and I'm like, that was all really interesting. Okay, well, you know, like not every reading has to be life-changing either. That's why I think a lot of us now, and maybe this is a generalization, but like are getting more focused in our queries, you know, using readings more as a tool than something that's gonna blow your mind, change the way you see yourself. You know, that kind of thing. Maybe that's general, but I think sometimes a reading is just for a reason or a season.
And
that's
totally
really
agree.
beautiful. That doesn't mean that the reading was like any less powerful. It just,
I was gonna say, like, I think that I don't really get a ton of readings. Again, an annual one with Teresa, but that is also a lie, because just about once a week at least, this literally happened last night, Meg or I will ask the other one for a reading. And again, this is very like specific to us being occult practitioners who are married. So this is a highly specific situation. But like, I ask Meg for cards at least once a week. Like, and it, again, how lucky am I to have me and Meg going along? Just like, oh yeah, babe, I'll give you a reading. Like, just
sitting on the bed reading cards at 11 p.m. in my pajamas. Like, all right, let's do this.
I was like tucked in bed in my bonnet under my weighted blanket.
You were fully reclined, and I was like sitting on the edge of the bed, like pulling cards,
having a fucking crisis. And Meg was like, "Okay, we're gonna."
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You need friends that you can call in that moment, or spouses that you can call on in that moment. And that makes me think for some reason about in my Discord server, which is newly named the Commons.
So cute.
Which we had a good laugh. We were like, okay, does that make us the commoners? And everyone had a good sense of humor.
That's very funny. Yes.
I like
about
it.
it. Yeah. I was like, no, but also yes.
But also yes.
But I have a channel called Moonday Messages, and it's inspired by Monday Messages, which was a thing that I used to do on Instagram, but also it's a card in the Morgan's Tarot. And so every Monday we do Moonday Messages, and different modalities. Like sometimes it's tarot, sometimes it's Wendy, my magic 8 balls, sometimes it's rune pulls. But I think they're like quick and usually for the week or the day or, you know, and obviously that has a cadence. We do it every Monday, but again, those are like fast and dirty. They're not meant to live longer than max 7 days, you know? Like, so what are the fly readings? And
and there's so much utility in that and so much support in that, and knowing you have a space, like whether it's a Discord channel or a friend who you can pretty regularly text and be like, hey, can we pull cards today? And just like voice
100%.
note, like that kind of, I think there's the support and the stability that those kinds of readings, like I couldn't tell you like one card that Meg pulled for me a week ago. The ones from last night, I can remember.
Yeah, I was like, I can do the ones from last night.
But like that's it. I can't remember ones we were pulling for each, or ones I pulled for Meg. Like I don't remember, but like that's okay. They were needed in that moment, and they were just for that moment, and like that is good.
Yeah, no, I think I love that we're talking about it like this, because I think those kinds of readings are so fucking useful to be like, in this moment, I need to hear this. And I absolutely have readings like that I went to a practitioner for that were long, that were recorded, that were like multi-hour, that like in the moment when I got them, I really needed them because I was like, I need to work through this sticky thing. I need to figure this out. I need your expertise on something that I literally can't do myself. I don't think you could pay me to go back and re-listen to some of those readings because like I was in a painful place, you know what I mean? Or like I had a situation years and years and years ago where someone was doing like kind of an experimental thing. They wanted to like test out a new kind of reading and a new skill set. And they did a quick little reading for me. And it brought up some information about my relationship with the deity that really shook me. And it kind of fucked me up. And it made me really hesitant about my relationship with that deity. And I didn't really know what to do. And so I went to see someone else to be like, hey, you have more experience in this exact thing. Can you help me untangle this? Because I'm feeling a way about it. And I don't really know what to do to like repair my relationship. And this seer was able to be like, okay, I think that person was confused. I think maybe they were receiving a message that was for them and they thought it was for you, or like something else was happening. Deity's fine. They like you. Everything's cool. Like, here's some things you can do to like strengthen the relationship, but you're fine. I don't want to listen to that reading again. You know what I mean? I have no desire to revisit that because I was in such a tender place about it and I felt confused. And I also didn't have the language for a lot of the things I was experiencing at the time that I have now. But I'm so grateful that I had that reading, and I'm grateful that I have it recorded should things change and I ever want to be able to go back and listen to that. So I think it's also really useful to name that those kinds of readings might be things that we would want to revisit for a time, but now it's like, I don't want anything to do with that. That was so necessary and I don't want to hear it again. You know, I don't want to revisit that. I don't want to experience that again. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that this can look. And I think it's valuable to like have a sense of what is helpful and supportive for us to hear multiple times or to revisit, and what is helpful to stick in a drawer and never think about again. No.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, my training to become a therapist has made me really consider the ethics of a reading, because readers out here do be saying a lot of things. And yeah. And then there's no aftercare. There's no follow-up. There's no, like, what do you do when you just tell someone something that could have a really meaningful impact, whether that's good or bad? You know, you can't necessarily control that either. And then there is this real boundary of like, well, I'm not responsible for anything that I tell you in a reading. And then that's all murky too, you know? So again, we don't need to get down this rabbit hole, but just to say,
No, but like,
I do think about it a lot.
there's also a reason why like the people that I shout out are people that I have been read by multiple times.
Yeah.
And will stand like 10 toes down on their experience, their boundaries, their ethics, their care. Because as Bee said, a lot of people do be out here like just saying shit. And I think perhaps to the life cycle point, not considering the way and the impact. And again, intent and impact, these are different. We know this, but like there are certain things. If you're going to tell someone they're cursed, if you're going to tell someone that they're like carrying family, what you have to then, as you're saying, like do the follow-up, because the life cycle of the reading, maybe, you know, as readers, it's in the head, out the mouth, and then we're done and we go like play Stardew Valley, if you're me. Like then you're leaving a client sitting there in that new question issue that has been brought up, and that might have a much longer life cycle for them that could have been avoided. The like flip side of the life cycle, right, is like the ones that stay with us and change who we are and like and tell us something about ourselves, and it's amazing and it's revelatory. But then there's the ones that, of like the example Meg gave of like that has a really long tail because it's very harmful and because it has like seeded some not great stuff.
Yeah. The not considering the life cycle. I mean, there is this skill that you learn as a therapist as to how to pace a session so that your client is somewhat emotionally regulated by the end of it, so that you're not leaving an open wound,
Oh my God,
you know, for the following week. And I've been on the side of the client where I am the open wound and the therapist is like, okay, great, see you next week. And I'm like, what? Like, how am I meant to move out of this moment, let alone like into the rest of my life, yada, yada. So there's no good way of caretaking with boundaries, right? There's always going to be something that gets messy because we're human beings. So there are going to be aspects of any kind of working practitioner client relationship that do feel cold and unfeeling because they have to be, like, or else we'd all be enmeshed and that would not be good either. What you said made me think about dependency and creating dependency on someone as well. If you're delivering information, like, I mean, this is just wild to me because I would never, but that's not to say this information isn't helpful. Like maybe if you're cursed, you need to know.
Sure.
I used a non-person diagnostic tool when I was interested in, you know, like I'm not interested in collaborating in that way. But if that is the kind of information you are open to receiving from a reader, then you're going to have to go back to that person and ask more questions or do more work. Yeah, there are things that stay with you from readings for a long time, and especially ones that are formative or tender or that catch you by surprise, you know, that you aren't really thinking about. And I also guess I would caution just in general against this, but really, especially when looking at the life cycle of a reading, I would caution against the reading as gospel.
Yeah.
You know, and also thinking about how something can change. Like, okay, I haven't given any examples of readings I've gotten yet, but I got a reading a few years ago when my health issues were all mysterious. And I was like, there was one witch in my life. I was like, you are literally the only person that I would trust to look at something like this with me, because I know that you have my best interest at heart. You have 2 feet firmly planted on the ground, but you're also willing to look at magical circumstances, you know? So I got a tarot reading with this witch about my health issues. And the questions that she asked were absolutely fascinating. And what she shared led me to finding an answer or an explanation that I could live with. That is actually what I needed in that moment to survive, was like an explanation I could live with that made enough sense to me with the timeline that I'm like, okay, even if this is never confirmed, that's okay because it's going to allow me to move forward. Years later, obviously, I have a cancer diagnosis. I'm going through treatment. I'm still thinking about that reading.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the information shared doesn't fit within the overall puzzle of what I experienced. I actually think that's still very much a part of things. And also, if what happened to me, my eventual diagnosis disproves that reading, that doesn't matter to me. What I needed from that reading in the life cycle of it was for it to offer me a way forward. And it offered me that way forward. And so who even gives a shit what cards were pulled? Who gives a shit what was predicted? Like, I'm willing to say, okay, yeah, whoa, that was wrong. Like, wow, I really was convinced at this one point that it was this thing. And actually it turned out to be this whole other thing. And like, that's fine. I still think like it served its purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes me think of a reading I very distinctly remember. It was a recorded reading. It was like a voice note recorded reading that I got from my dear friend Mecca Woods in February 2017. And I remember this specifically because she delivered it to me over voice, like over a recording, pre-recording. It was a Venus reading, so love. I was in a very difficult relationship at the time. I was across the world, and that's why we couldn't do it live, is my ex and I also like we're in Southeast Asia for 3.5 months, like screaming at each other in Angkor Wat, like normal people. Anyway, point is, I got a love reading and we were friends. And so it was as generous and as kind as it could be. But there was like some of the underneath, like this might not be long for this world. And that reading like was giving me ways to make the relationship work. But it ultimately felt like it would like be what you're saying. It's like, but what I got from it and what like the permission giving was actually for me to look at the reality of what was happening. And 5-6 months later, I ended things and I moved out. And so I don't know. I think a lot about that. Well, just because the reading wasn't accurate doesn't mean that I didn't get what I needed to get to make certain choices or decisions. And that's one I could not tell you a thing she said in that reading. I just know I remember so distinctly we were in Cambodia when I got it. And I was like sitting on our tiny little like hotel room balcony privately with headphones listening to this reading like with my morning coffee and like the feeling. And that's also I think part of it. Is it even what's said, or is it, well, sometimes it is what's said, but like I remember how it was like landing in my body. I think that's why I remember it so clearly, is like just the visceral impact that receiving it had on me and the way that it felt that like I had options.
I love that. It's making me think about how sometimes we like ask the question that we think we want the answer to, or we're trying to solve a specific problem. And it's like, okay, we can use this modality. We can do the reading. We can address that question that you think you want answered. But I think in all of our modalities, sometimes we're still going to get other pieces of information that give us a more complete picture and also like are going to offer us another road or another escape hatch or, another way of thinking about it. It's like, okay, if you want your answer, here's your answer, but I'm going to stick some other stuff in here too, because it's coming forward so loudly and it's going to help you gain a different kind of perspective on what you're actually asking. And a way that I think that's just something really cool that happens in readings. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Bee, of like the reading that was powerful, but that wasn't like it, like, and that did change a lot, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I think that like holding space for that dissonance, that all gets to be true is really an important thing for folks to remember. And for us to remember.
Yeah. Okay, I got a reading, a human design reading.
Oh, did you?
I never had one.
Did.
I don't know very much about it. I feel like every time I look at it, I get confused and then I'm like, fuck this, I can't.
So I like human design and I know a little bit about my human design chart, but I had a friend who was studying to become a reader.
Mhm.
And she's a longtime friend and I totally trust her. Like we've done other spiritual work together before, but had a mentor and was learning to read. And she was like, can I give give you a reading? And I said, yeah, of course. Like I would love to receive a reading. And she texted me, this was in late 2024. So some of you might remember on the timeline that I went into the hospital in December of 2024. So she texts me that she is really excited to give me this reading because she has wild information to share with me. And she even wants her mentor to weigh in on my chart before giving me this reading. So I'm like, okay, whenever you want to give it is when I want to receive it. So she gives me this reading when I'm already bedridden. Like by the time she gives me this reading, I'm in my bed, truly laying down with my laptop on my chest, taking notes on my laptop as she is giving me this reading on speakerphone. And I kid you not, the whole time I'm listening, I'm taking notes, I'm like really interested. And the whole time I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with any of this information?
Yeah.
Like truly. Okay, and I also want to be providing feedback to my friend and validation and like, if someone's practicing on you, there's a little bit of an extreme happening here. But yeah, I'm just thinking like, what am I supposed to do with this information? And what she told me about my human design chart is that I'm a manifester. But there is actually like you look to gates and channels within the chart to see how the types actually make sense. Like what if one thing is connected to something, then you have this type. And if you're missing a connection here, then you have this type. So she said, you're a manifester, but actually looking at your chart, you don't have the connections or you don't have the lack of connections that a manifester needs. You actually have a connection. So your chart visually is a projector, but everything about you is a manifester. So she's trying.
Sorry, I was going to say.
I know. So she's trying to explain this to me. And this is what stuck years later. And it has continued to stick. And it's been fucking nuts and wild. And that's why I'm like, you never know. You like just truly never know.
Yeah.
Because the whole time I'm receiving this information, I'm like, that's really cool for whatever person could have used that. Like, awesome.
Yeah.
So human design gives you strategies. And it's like strategies to action and how to actually be effective in your life. And so a manifester, the strategy that a manifester uses that I've known about for years is to inform. Because manifestors do their own thing, they start their own things, and then people are like, ooh, that's really cool. And they're like, yeah, I know, I made it. Like, and so you just have to tell people what you're doing. You have to inform people of your process. It's not going to make sense to everyone, yada, yada, yada. A projector strategy is to wait for an invitation. And those are so radically different. That just receiving that information about myself, I was like, whoa, like, I don't even know what to do with this. And I'm actually really glad that this reading is coming up again in my life now. I also just saw this friend a couple weeks ago and I talked to her about this reading because I wanted to share with her the updates. So when I started thinking about my life as a projector using the strategy to wait for an invitation, I actually did start to see a pattern in my professional career that a lot of the things that are big leveling up opportunities in my life and career have been kind of by invitation. And that's not a pattern that I've ever thought of before. Even though I would tell you that's how it happened, I wouldn't think that was meaningful. And then when I was in the hospital, right after receiving this reading, then grad school came up And that was kind of an invitation. It was like someone's therapist was like, this person who's laying in that hospital bed seems to be really going through this well. If she makes it out alive, she should probably be someone's therapist. And I truly like the doors are open in terms of this new path for me. So everything that's followed, I was invited in, and everything has been knock on all the wood, pretty smooth sailing. As long as I want to show up and work for it, right? That's the collaboration piece. Obviously it works out. But anyway, I had no idea how I was going to use any of that information, especially the strategy. At that point in my life, I was like, my whole body's broken. This seems like the end. But now, a couple years later, I'm like, whoa, if I hadn't gotten that reading, I probably wouldn't have even seen the invitation in the grad school opportunity. And I don't know that I would have walked so wholeheartedly down the path if I hadn't had that awareness that maybe this was the next invitation. And actually, that's something about my life that's true. But even in this experience, I can hear myself talking about my own agency. Like, this was information that was shared with me. And it made me think about my life a little differently. And actually, whoa, that's a cool pattern. That's there. Okay, totally. And then when it happened again, I was like, whoa, I might be open to this because of that. But it wasn't because anybody had any real influence over me. It was just like offering a different perspective. I don't know, maybe you could make the case that I've been influenced, but like
I'm like, what are we but the sum of our influences?
Truly.
Honestly, that's like half of it too. I'm like, life is intertextual. We're constantly like responding and citing and changing and revising. Like none of us are going through this just completely isolated in the ivory tower by ourselves. Like, we all come from a place. So I don't know. I'm also like, I don't begrudge the influence also, for what it's worth. Like,
no, and I also think sometimes you just hear information in a way that actually lands with you. Cause like for my own shit, I had all these people in my life telling me that the structure that I was using for this book that I've been stuck on for literal years maybe was the problem. And I was like, well, I've already written so much within this structure. I was really clinging to the structure, even though it wasn't super working. I was like, well, this is how I sold the book, and this is what I said it was going to be, and this is what I thought it was going to be, and this is what I've been writing, even though I'd been so stuck on it. And I finally had this reading with Sasha, and she was like, she didn't even tell me to do that. She just talked about potential things that might be getting in my way. And it was like, it's got to be the structure. It's just got to be the structure. But I had to come to that. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't the first person to say that to me. She just said it in a different way. And I was finally like, fine. So I started over, and that was the problem, or at least a problem that's been a huge obstacle. And it wasn't, again, the reading wasn't about the structure of the book. It was just, what do I need to know to make this book a reality? And it opened things up in a way that I really just needed permission to do, or I needed to just stop fighting the inevitable and actually let it be. But I think sometimes we just have to hear it in a different way, or in a different modality, or in a different language, in a way that it clicks then, you know?
Yeah, that's also something I've been thinking about with therapy, is that I read a line in a book by a therapist that said people don't want to be told what to do. And even though we think we do, and we really crave someone to tell us what to do, more oftentimes than not, when we're told what to do, we don't want to do it. So like, what a great, paradox of being a person. But I think about that in terms of what you just said about, she said it in a way that allowed me to come to it myself. I had to come to it myself. And that's something that I think can really expand the life cycle of a reading, is how much you're engaging with what is said in a way that might not be specific to like the card pulled, but again, like what it's allowing you to explore for yourself.
Jeanna was saying right at the beginning, like, how willing are you to enter into the space and like be curious and collaborate with the reader and share what you actually are looking for, or what you're open to receiving. Like, I think that's all part of it. And I do think that changes how the reading lands with you, both in the moment and also like after the fact.
I will say I gave, was it maybe a year or two ago? I was doing like written readings, like very short written ones for like midheaven author branding stuff. And for all that a lot of people seem to get a lot out of them, that's I think the singular reading. There's a reason I'm bringing this up. There were a lot of people who wrote back like, okay, I don't like the color that you talked about. And it was like, in the reading is like, I'm giving a lot of different recommendations is a loose. I'm associatively thinking at you. Colors, adjectives, imagery, mythology, deity, like, okay, this is like what your midheaven, it could be in your 9th, 10th, 11th house, probably. What's the planet that rules it? Are there other planets there? And like talking about author branding as it connects to those things. And the number of people who wrote back struggling, and this was remarkable to me because I do feel the good fortune of generally having a very engaged and supportive and lovely clientele and readership who very much fuck with what I do. So this also I think stuck me because I was like, hey, you know. It's that collaborative piece that they were missing, and that you're talking about. It's like, I'm not telling you to use red and orange. That's not like you don't like those colors. That's okay. You don't have to like the color black. You don't have to like the color pink. Like, you do you. But the vibe, there is a like, this is a starting point because you said you feel stuck in XYZ ways. And sometimes folks just kind of can't get out of their own way to an extent, and like can't take the information as a starting point, as a collaborative like Venn diagram. Like, the reader brings this, but then you bring other things, and that's what makes the reading, that's what makes the advice. And I don't know, I think about that a lot in terms of like how useful someone will find something, just like really being so dependent on where they are in the moment. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Gus snoring in the
Is that
back.
what that is? I heard that sound and then I was like, is that the dog?
Oh my God. And that is our cue to
I need to wrap it up. Yeah, he's like, you guys, this is a snooze fest. Yes, I think that, again, it's like something about really wanting the winning formula. Like wanting something and someone to say to you, do these 3 things and you're going to get whatever it is that you want. And then even when somebody says to you, do these 3 things and you're going to get what you want, sometimes we don't even do those 3 things for whatever reason. And so I think sometimes your reaction to a reading, like in this case, if it doesn't vibe with you, you don't have to tell the reader that it didn't vibe with you. You sure do it, but like, you don't have to. But B, maybe it's not so much, yes, like you said, what the reader said, but how you can then use that as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
But it's true that, yeah, if you're looking for the answer, sometimes.
If you're looking for the answer, then talk to Wendy. And
Then
Wendy will give you a fucking answer. Like, don't.
Gonna be rude. Like, she'll give you an answer.
Wait, can we end with a Wendy question? Also, again, for folks at home who aren't on YouTube, Wendy is Bee's magical 8-ball.
I just found my mini magic 8-ball that Meg gave me this morning too. I didn't know where it was, and I just figured out where it was this morning.
Wasn't
so
it on the desk here?
Yeah, it was stuffed into one of the cups.
Oh, I probably heard that.
And cups. Yeah.
Questions at the moment. Oh my gosh. She's such a bitch. I love her so much.
Wait, what did she say?
She said, concentrate and ask again. She's such a skank. Okay.
She's like, bitch, give me your full goddamn attention.
Okay. So she's very particular about the way that you ask the question too. Okay. Are you currently taking tables?
Iconic.
Cannot predict now. Okay.
Okay.
One of you try asking permission in whatever, if she's available in whatever way.
You cunt. Are you around? Cunt affectionate.
Most likely.
Just got to be a little mean to her.
Gotta be mean to her. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. What do you want to know?
What do we want to know?
Likely answer.
What do we want to know? Oh, I'm gonna ask about my book.
Yeah,
Okay.
do it.
Wendy, am I gonna have a finished draft to my writers group on time?
Can you state what on time means to you in this moment?
By Tuesday, May 12th.
Okay. It is decidedly so.
Look at that.
Okay.
I am a stubborn motherfucker also, and I am getting it to them then, so.
We love it. We
Love
love
it.
it.
I love it.
Great.
Meg, do you want to ask one?
Sure, Wendy, you big bitch. Am I gonna finish my devil book by the end of this year?
Okay.
She's gonna be like,
Outlook good.
Hey! Outlook good!
Great.
Dude,
Thanks, Wendy.
Call her a cunt to her face more often. Like, I'm over here like,
You're being too
Wendy,
nice.
sweet goddess of the diner.
Wendy is a diner waitress bitch, and you need to talk to her accordingly.
Okay.
Talk to her like you're also a diner waitress bitch.
Yeah. Oh, this is so bad. I never ask Wendy questions. Sometimes we're on the out. But maybe it's because I need to talk to her. Like,
Maybe it's because you need to change your fucking attitude, Bee.
Okay. All right, Wendy, you dumb slut. Okay, well, I in keeping with the theme, will I have a finished draft of my novel by the time my fall traineeship starts?
Mm-hmm.
Better not tell you now. I'm telling you, this bitch has it out
She's
for me.
sneaky.
I think she's for others. I think I am her handler, and I think that I just have like
Why you being Magic 8 Ball's manager? Like, makes me so happy.
I am. Like, I help her speak to the people, but she's like has her middle finger up to me.
She's like, stop feeling like this.
I'm laughing so hard.
You're like, I'll just bust the tables and stay out of your way. It's
Literally
so funny.
All right. Thanks, Wendy, for nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you've described her personality, but it's another thing to see it in action.
Yeah, I'm glad we got
What is
to
it?
because it really is something.
I'm not making this shit up. Like,
No.
I'm really not. I know. Yeah, she and I don't get along. She's the reader that you're like, stop going back to her. Like, you don't like what she says to you. She's not helpful to you. And I'm like, please, Wendy.
Maybe this time.
Maybe this time.
Give me at least a yes or a no.
Yeah.
Sassy bitch.
All right, well, there you've seen it in action.
Yeah.
All right, any final thoughts on readings that you've had, that you've given?
I will share one thing as a whatever the word is when you're ending things.
Benediction.
Sure, as a benediction.
Wow.
I think one of the things I remember most from one of my readings is actually be one of the things you said in our couples reading that I think about all the time still. And I'm probably not going to say this right because I am not an aficionado of the Magic Square, but I remember you were talking about how Jeanna and I both build relationships and like how we kind of navigate relationships in our life and like where we put a lot of energy in terms of our relationships. And I remember that Jeanna had a lot of energy. I think it was in like the 2s and the 3s. Is that right? Jeanna has a lot of people that she considers close friends. She has a lot of like kind of family close connections and then like big audience connections. But I don't have really anyone in the 2s. I had like a lot of 1s and then like a couple of 3s. So it's like, I do think about like big, broad community, like capital C community. And I need a whole lot of fucking time for myself. But like, I only keep a few people close. And then there's kind of a whole empty space. I think there was an empty square that kind of separated. And so I remember getting that reading and being like, oh, this makes a lot of sense because I feel like Jeanna has so many close relationships, and I just have a little handful of ones that I like tend, and I'm like, I will go to war for you. Like, let's bury the body, whatever you need. And it was really interesting to have language for that, because when we talk about friendships and community and chosen family and relationships, it's like, oh, Jeanna has a much broader capacity for close relationships than I do. And I really do need a lot of time to myself. Like, I already knew that, but it was like really affirming that like my relationship with myself is a really critical piece of like how I engage in relationships with other people. So I have no idea if I said that correctly, but
I thought that also it's interesting you say that, because that was also the part of the reading that like I think about the most still.
Yeah.
Is like of how we do things differently. And it just gives more context to like the introvert, extrovert, like black cat, golden retriever. Like that's funny, but it doesn't capture the complexity that I think you offered us in that reading, Bee.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. And honestly, what a way to end. Not that I was expecting it, but like I'm very honored to be a part of experiencing the life cycle of a reading. Like something that I offered years ago, that again, you don't need to know what the exact placements were. It was the way that receiving this information allowed you to think about it, and something that you've kept active and that's continued to bring insight. So I'm so honored. That's lovely.
No, it was really useful for us. Like, I think we got that reading when we'd only been dating. We've been friends for a couple of years, but I think we'd only been dating for like 4 or 5 months. So it was really useful actually in like figuring out like how we do relationships, and how where there's overlap and where there's difference. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. I do think I'm going to teach a class this summer of some kind of, maybe live, maybe recorded. I haven't decided yet, but around creativity and numerology, and specifically using the magic tool as a square to understand and conceptualize your own creative process.
Cool.
I will take it.
Yeah, I love it.
Be right there, front row.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. So this feels like validation of the magic square as a tool, and like
100%.
Looking at these qualities. Ooh, my own magic square. Don't worry, I'll use it as an example. It is woof. I'm sitting in it right now. It's why Wendy won't answer my questions. I have nothing in my column of will and determination. So if I can just get from the beginning to the end, but therein lies the rub. Anyway, this has been a great convo.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
And apparently it's June soon.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
This year is flying.
This year is
spinning. Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks, and we'll talk about June 2026.
Apparently.
Cool. Well, until then, take care.